we have, and you know what? There's a lot of people that don't want to be victims. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be classified as a victim. I don't want to. There's a lot of people that know what happened there. And I want to tell you, if you came forward and told what happened there, you'd be eaten up by the media.
Warning. The podcast you're about to listen to may contain graphic descriptions of violent assaults, murder, and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Human Trafficking with Detective Ricky Lynn, Part 3 of 4.
We have a content warning that rolls in front of every episode because we usually talk about sensitive topics, and we do not want to trigger anyone or make sure that we all understand that the topics are of an adult nature. The episode you are about to listen to or watch is perhaps one of the darkest we have produced, and we wanted to make sure everyone is prepared for what will be talked about. Human trafficking covers a wide spectrum of atrocities and evil. This interview goes to some of those dark places, while briefly, but they are disturbing all the same. Children should not be present when this one is played. Also, if anyone takes a hard pass at listening to or viewing this episode based on trauma they have experienced or have been close to, we understand completely and would recommend waiting this one out for one of our future drops and stories. We care deeply about all of our listeners and viewers and want to balance making educational content while at the same time protecting vulnerable people. Take care, and thank you for your careful consideration on this.
Have the girl do a sexual act to pay for the room. The girl gets the flu. She doesn't want to do it. So he makes her a little dope sick. So she pays for the room. So he gives her a little bit more dope. That goes on every night at hotels. And it usually comes in as like a domestic violence fight or people arguing or something like that. But if you think about force, fraud, or coercion, think about the homeless lady standing at the exit ramp of the interstate with a sign, and somebody pulls up and says, "I'll give you $50 for a sexual act." Is that human trafficking? If you go back and break down the vulnerabilities, now we have human trafficking. Yeah. Most people will go, that's prostitution. It's her fault.
Yes, she voluntarily entered into the agreement and made the exchange. Exactly. Traditionally, that would be it.
And instead, in the trafficker's mind, is she needs a place to stay. She needs to buy dope. She needs to buy alcohol.
It's just supplying her need.
Yes. I'm filling a vulnerability.
She's the one who needs it.
Yes. And so what probably the hardest thing that ever got me to the point where it was funny that somebody 4 or 5 years ago said, "You're the subject matter expert in Kentucky on human trafficking." And I'm going, no. They said, "Tell me another person that will write backwards the vulnerability in a case." Mm-hmm. And I didn't do that because I'm the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed. I did it out of necessity to prove human trafficking cases.
Right.
And it was just how like I've read the law enough to what it takes to make an arrest. And when we start talking about that, the human trafficking is pretty easy to spot, obviously, that way. But to charge the charge of human trafficking, I got to get everybody else to see what I'm looking at. So you have to right now, like that family, all the vulnerabilities, like when I go into a human trafficking case, what are the vulnerabilities in this case and what are they fulfilling? And how is that person twisting the victim to get what they want? Because anymore, a trafficker, the person's a commodity.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, it doesn't matter what they do to them. A girl in a hotel room, 2 girls in a hotel room, let's say they're both minors, is about $9,000 a day for a trafficker. So I don't need somebody for a year.
And that leads to the word disposable, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So where are these kids just...
So
their
10
families
days
not
from now,
missing
they
them?
run away. I've made $90,000.
And the families aren't missing these children?
We have so many kids that are run away across the United States. We have so many, kids don't run away. Most kids we find.
Exactly.
I don't want to scare anybody. Like most kids we find. But if you're gone a week, how are they eating? How are they taking a shower? How are they, you don't know the amount of kids that have slept in vacant buildings. As a trafficker, that's an easy one. I'll just put you in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And that's that we've talked about, because David Hester came and did a really good piece on missing people. And we talked about how difficult it is for a police department to triage all of that, because when do you move from the kid that tied the little sack to the stick and left home, ho, 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 kind of we envision. And that's where most of them are. They get pissed off. They come back. They are found before they're entered in NCIC. But then you talk too about, I've always said that, like right now, there seems to be a proliferation of missing teenagers on social media that don't qualify for Amber Alerts. And there's a whole thing about that. And it's like, I get it, but we could desensitize the population to what it means to be missing. But I will never take away, here's the other double edge of the sword, is again, like you said, the longer they're gone, Ricky, they're vulnerable. And so that when they start to not having those needs met, that's where the hump is in that. That's it, is that, that's, look at how many times you see or read stories where they go out to the West Coast and just get completely consumed and never seen again.
So there's an organization in Kentucky called the Institute for Survival Care. And it used to be in Baltimore, and it moved to LaGrange, Kentucky. And they deal with all the shelters. It used to be shelter care. Now it's survivor care. And they deal with all the shelters around the country. And they do a lot of research into different things. Well, they've come out this year with new research. So I have been told since 2010, never arrest anybody for prostitution. Never, 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 never. And we've kind of preached that across the state, and that has taken a hold because all the advocates said that. So they just did this study, and they went and interviewed all these human trafficking victims across Kentucky. They went to like all the jails to had people do surveys and places. And the number one way of getting out of human trafficking for adults is jail. So we have stopped locking people up for prostitution, but it gets them away from the trafficker, gets them away from the dope, it gets them clean where people can talk to them, to provide services to them, to get them out of the life. So this year, like my teaching has all changed, that we need to make avenues for kids that are being sexually assaulted, rape victims, domestic violence, people who are human trafficking. We need to make avenues to make it easier to report and not blame. The biggest thing you can tell somebody is, and this is crazy, whether you've been sexually assaulted, whether it's domestic violence, is I believe you.
Right.
Those words right there, if you want to build rapport with somebody that's a victim of a crime, you sit down with them in the first words, and you have to mean it. It's just not words, but I believe you. I can tell you right now, in my career now, I've investigated all sorts of crimes with kids. And I got to say that I have not had one kid lie to me at all. For the fact is, I go in with attitude to prove them right instead of proving them wrong. I know that the old police, 1960, 1970, they walked into an interview and thinking somebody's going to lie to them. And because we do so many interrogations where people lie to you, where this is an interview with a victim of a crime. And if you go in to prove that they're telling the truth, could we have a victim or two lie? Yes. But that it will sort itself out as the investigation goes forward.
Agreed. And you'll use the powerful words trauma-informed. That's another evolution. Retired Detective Jim Root teaches that quite a bit into law enforcement about changing that attitude, especially when you go to something like a sexual assault, is that approach is a whole lot different than it would have been back in the day. Take a little misogyny out, a little chauvinism, and add into it the idea that you're not doing an interrogation. And you make a good point, too, that if you trust and there's a problem with it, a good investigation in the justice system stops short of maybe somebody being criminally charged. And because that's the real risk, right, is that if somebody manufactures something, they manufacture it. And, of course, our job as truth seekers is to not let it get to the point where somebody's actually charged or housed on a false accusation. That's why I think all of the complaints deserve to be examined. And I'm kind of like with you, is that if you have a low hit rate on being lied to in a case like that, just go. Because and let me leave it with this. I think by the time law enforcement is involved in this, usually there's such a preponderance of believable stuff in it. Is that, do you follow that?
Yes.
It's like it's there.
My job is a fact finder.
That's it.
And I present facts.
Right.
Which means I have proven the statement.
Well, my question would be with some of these children, especially the ones that are homeless or in bad spots, where do they go once you break this case open? They obviously can't go back home because that's why they left, most likely.
So the ideal thing is finding a family member with them. If not, they go into the system and into and I got to say, I have run across a few bad foster homes. Mm-hmm. For the majority of the foster homes, they're absolutely incredible. There's some people in it just for the money. Mm-hmm. But the majority, I got 2 kids in a foster home and they're adopting the kids and they're the most amazing parents in the world and they couldn't have kids. And usually the kids were older, like 8 or 9. And, I know most people want little babies, but these parents have adopted these 2 kids into their lives and they consider them family. And it's just absolutely phenomenal what the kids went through to where go talk to them now. And it's like, you want to sit on the floor and break out. Now they're like 10 and 13. You want to break out a Monopoly game and play board games with them. That they're just remarkable. Kids heal quickly. Yeah. But back to the like we're saying that, we're fact finders.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't need to bring my opinion into cases. And the ideal case is finding enough evidence nobody has to testify. Mm-hmm. There's enough there that, and if you dig and dig and dig and build a case like it should, I rarely go to court.
Right. Well, again, one, strong casework. And I think if you can get the casework strong enough, the nasty of it, right, is I think a lot of people quietly, like I talked about before, the media doesn't get into it, maybe for good, maybe we don't need to be exposed to it in detail, but you get to a point where the offender would really like to see it go away when it can't go away. And the way you do that is you quietly take a plea maybe and probably a stiff sentence just so that you don't take your family through all of that again.
So in 2020, we changed. So if you are convicted of human trafficking now, it's 20 years. You have to serve 85%, which is 18 and a half years, which is, everybody says, I want him in jail forever, but you're not going to have that. Right. And there's a $10,000 fine that they have to pay into the Human Trafficking Victims Fund. And that fund is run by the Attorney General, and it goes for training and education and law enforcement. Like, it's broken down how much money goes to each place. But that's a long time. If Tim Nolan was a judge in Northern Kentucky, and he took a plea deal. There was a lot of victims. But he was 70 years old. Now think about 70 years old going into the jail, got to serve 18 and a half years.
The judge got prosecuted.
So yes, he So he was a judge, district court judge in Northern Kentucky, and he wasn't close enough to kids, so he left that and joined the school board and bought 4 pink 4-wheelers for his farm, and him and his attorney friends would trade adults and kids on his farm, and he would give the kids alcohol and marijuana and do bad things to them. He had a friend named Robert Poole that we needed for a witness, and he refused to testify against Tim Nolan. So after we put Tim Nolan, and Barbara Whalen did this from the Attorney General's office, she prosecuted it. Once she put Tim Nolan into jail, we went after Robert Poole, and he's in jail now too. And he was an attorney in Northern Kentucky, but there was a lot of people involved.
So they were just
kids.
Getting these kids to come to this farm under the pretense that they're going to get alcohol and pot. I guess there were teenagers, maybe.
Teenagers and addicts. It all started. Tim Nolan bought a bar with a trailer next to it, and the bartender or manager would run the bar. Well, he put a woman that was an addict in as the bartender that had like a 14-year-old daughter. So when she couldn't pay rent, he took rent from her using the 14-year-old daughter, and that all started this. He decided he liked kids, and that's what started the human trafficking part of this.
Wow.
But so he paid into the victims fund. That's how we started the victims fund, and it went from there. But like I said, human trafficking right now, the largest industry in the world is the porn industry. So I know a couple of years ago, they had 2 different states, Utah and another state, that tried changing the age of consent to 14.
Isn't that terrifying?
Well, the Victorian runway show moved to Paris so they could put, Victoria's Secret wanted to put kids on stage in their pink gear. Sports Illustrated, in their swimsuit edition, has young girls in it that you can see through their bathing suits because they went to an island that allows that. But sex sells. So it's just one of those things that if we talk about grooming, we talk about people grooming people, but that industry is grooming our kids across the board. There's a new video game called Cyberpunk.
Never heard of it.
I've never seen it, never played it. I got a friend, one of our friends in common, play it. But they just have made it so you can, as a caricature in the game, you can take your clothes off and they have a room that you can go have sex in as your caricature in the game. But if we look across the board, Instagram now allows nudity.
Right.
One of the worst apps out there for kids is Snapchat. The OnlyFans website sits on the Snapchat server so they can move the money and the QR codes back and forth. So our kids are getting inundated now with Snapchat ads and stuff like that. There's over 100 websites in Kentucky, 2 of them being like skipthegames.com, megapersonal.com. This isn't dark web. On the regular web, you can buy people. Mm-hmm. There's about 9,000 ads a day posted in Kentucky.
Wow. Never knew that was on there. Never.
So, and so we talk about money. Money doesn't apply a lot to this. Mm-hmm. What have we given our kids? No, on their phones. Since we're giving elementary school kids phones, now we are giving kids Venmo, and parents are sending Venmo. So now traffickers are using that Venmo account for money to groom kids too.
Crazy. Wow. It's like evil finds a way.
Well, technology, as Ashton Kutcher said to Congress, technology can be good or bad, no matter how you use it. That if an airplane's technology, as he said, and if you fly into a building, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you use it for mass transit, it's a good thing. That no matter what technology comes out, there's going to be evil people that do evil things with it.
For sure. You talked about that network of the judge and those people in the pink four-wheelers and all that kind of stuff like that. A hot topic today, right now, when we're recording this, is the infamous Epstein files. And, of course, his name has been on everybody's tongue for eons now. And without trying to rabbit hole the whole thing, because I refuse to go too deep on it, because it's just voluminous. And you talk about misinformation. We are living in a world of there's a misinformation campaign on most of that, so I don't trust it. But that said, when people talk about human trafficking and Epstein, what do you think the misunderstandings are, or the facts? And I'm not trying to get you to nail down. We don't have to name names like people do and everything, but what do you think where that curiosity comes from with people?
No, I would hate to name names because, as we talked earlier, that if somebody called me today and I could fly in their private jet to a resort on an island that all these famous people were going to be at, I'd probably be the first one on the plane.
I think that's a lot of what this is. I really do.
Now, did bad things occur on the island? Yes, horrible things. Is everybody that went to the island guilty? I don't think so.
I'd have a hard time with that too.
I think if you had money and you were somebody that was a horrible person and you liked horrible things, they provided horrible things to you if you had the money. But looking at the island, first of all, it was in international waters. So it would be the world court that would have to prosecute you. Second is, like we said, we're fact finders.
Right.
All these pictures, because somebody's in a swimming pool, even if I'm in a swimming pool with two kids, maybe it was their kids. Maybe it was, there was a lot of movie stars that were young that were taken there, but there's a lot of movie stars that were young that were taken there that said nothing happened.
Right.
So I don't want to accuse anybody.
I think, I hadn't thought of it, Ricky, the way you put it. If you're famous and somebody's offering you to go. And as you were talking, the only thing I could think was back in the day, and we don't have these anymore, and I'm not saying that things happen, so let me preface this. I'm not saying this. But it's like the Anita Madden Derby party. All the famous people went there. It's just something you did every year. If you were famous and you were wealthy, it was a big show event, and it was broadcast on TV, and movie stars and all these famous people went there. So you just went because of the notoriety and the fame. And I hadn't thought about that until you put it like that. I was like, well, maybe it's kind of similar. And people are thinking, well, I'm going to go to his famous island.
It's one of those things we can have two truths running parallel. You can have Jeffrey Epstein, a deviant, perverted individual, convicted. We know that. But on the other side, Jeffrey Epstein, the socialite. And it's a known thing that, part of the whole game in fame and fortune is meeting people and networking and hobnobbing. And again, you made a good point, a private jet down to a resort in a Caribbean island, absent anything else, people would go. And so I'm with you. I think that we, without rabbit holing this too much, is we live in a world where people want to think the worst of everybody that they don't like and informally indict people. But coming back to it again, part of that is that I think that the thing that there's a thread on there that interests people who don't want to just do conjecture is links to human trafficking. If on those bad things, and we have to agree that stuff was going on, how they provided the quote unquote the product, which would be children or adults that were coerced into that.
Probably the thing that bothers me the most is I watched a news article with a person getting off a plane coming back. And the person says, not for me, way too young, never go back. And that was pretty much their statement. at that point, that's on YouTube now. It was a news agency that was interviewing the person. At that point, it should have raised a lot of eyebrows, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We have, and you know what? There's a lot of people that don't want to be victims. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be classified as a victim. I don't want to. There's a lot of people that know what happened there. And I want to tell you, if you came forward and told what happened there, you'd be eaten up by the media.
Oh, for sure.
Like
consumed.
And then you'd be called a liar. And I fully understand how victims aren't coming forward out of the woodwork with this, but just going there, looking at, like, and I've only seen, like, the stuff everybody else has seen. Like I don't know anything that anybody else doesn't. But working human trafficking every day, you would think I would be consumed with that. And I realized early that it's 100% what you said, that I think it was a resort. You know, think about the prettiest resort you've ever gone to, and now you add all these music stars and movie stars and all these socialites, and that sounds fun to me.
Yeah, and you look at the names on the list now. I don't think it's a secret. I mean, it's just everybody and their mother's dog was going, and to me that was that too. I guess the reason I don't dig into it a lot right now is what we're left with right now is very naive, unprofessional people synthesizing thousands of pages of files on the internet, and there's no way I'm going to follow people down that rabbit hole because it's just wrong. We talked about children, right, trafficking, and I liked how you hit about the visual image of the van, the abduction, kidnappings of children and abductions of children don't always wind up in a trafficking event. You know, we've both worked cases in this community where children were murdered and they were taken and moved to somewhere else, and it wasn't trafficking. Let's go into the adult world and launch into that, because I think it's probably just as nebulous, but I think that the dynamics could be different a little bit there.
You said 78, and I was thinking, how'd that happen?
Yeah, exactly. When we breach,
how'd they
over
even
that.
get her?
Well, even with 78, anytime I think when you get to the moral majority of age, is that self-control and self-destination, right? I mean, we anticipate that as we get older that we develop and we have the ability to do things like say no or not go places, but we still have people that are coerced, manipulated, threatened, everything you said, and probably, just guessing, trafficked on a higher rate per capita than children.
So we were teaching a human trafficking class in Ashland, and it was all law enforcement. We sent law enforcement guys out at noon on Wednesday to go take some pictures of places in town where trafficking may occur. Just, we wanted them to get it in their head, like, this does happen here. And it doesn't mean all the pictures they took were trafficking, maybe no trafficking was going on, but it gave them a break in a classroom to go out and do some real investigation. And we had 3 guys that pull up to this homeless lady pushing a shopping cart down. It was a main street in Ashland. And they said, we're here in this class. We're kind of stumped where to go. Explained what trafficking was to this lady, and the lady's response was,
hey, you know there's more to the story, so go download the next episode like the true crime fan that you are.
The Murder Police podcast is hosted by Wendy and David Lyons and was created to honor the lives of crime victims, so their names are never forgotten. It is produced, recorded, and edited by David Lyons. The Murder Police podcast can be found on your favorite Apple or Android podcast platform, as well as at murderpolicepodcast.com, where you will find show notes, transcripts, information about our presenters, and a link to the official Murder Police Podcast merch store where you can purchase a huge variety of Murder Police Podcast swag. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is closed caption for those that are hearing impaired. Just search for the Murder Police Podcast and you will find us. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more and give us 5 stars and a written review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. Make sure you set your player to automatically download new episodes so you get the new ones as soon as they drop. And please tell your friends. Lock it down, Judy.
Hey everybody, it's Wendy. In case you didn't know, David finally got off his butt and finished his book, True Crime and Consequences. The book is super educational and talks about the world of true crime and where it meets real investigations. It is perfect for everyone, from true crime fans like myself, to the true crime podcaster or YouTuber, to the amateur detective or web sleuth. And not to leave anyone out, you cops need to read this book too. True Crime and Consequences is available at murderpolicepodcast.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, well, pretty much anywhere you'd find a great book like this. So true crime fans, go get your copy today.